Alana, thank you so much for being on the Harder Not Smarter podcast. It's a pleasure having you on here. You have an incredibly accomplished career in the last couple of years in such a short amount of time. Like you just got out of the Navy a couple of years ago, but inside of that, you had your book, Black Veteran Entrepreneur. You've started a couple businesses now. You've gone through some pivots. You're going back to school. Um, what's that transition out of the military been like for you? Because I know it's very easy to just look at someone on paper and be like, oh, they have everything going. Look at all these things. But I know, especially myself included, it's very easy to just internalize all that stuff, the struggle of leaving the service and figuring out what you're going to do next. What's your experience been like?
One, I really appreciate you guys having me here today. Glad to be here. It was a journey. It's definitely kind of what you alluded to, the nuances of, there's the checklist that the Navy gives us or whatever your service is, getting out and the administrative things you have to do, but we don't really talk about a lot about the mental or emotional side of that. And it was a long process for me. I was medically retired, so I had some time built in there which I'm grateful for, which I realize a lot of people don't have, is to like sit in, what do I want to do? What do I want to feel? What am I feeling right now? What is challenging me? And I had time to work through all that. So it was hard. Let me just say it was hard, but more so the emotional side and the mental side of things. And like, what am I going to do next? Like, I didn't expect to be here right now. What does this look like and how do I move forward?
With your
it's interesting because most people, Kevin, I'm talking. I'm going to go.
Have it. I'm just going to drink my coffee.
So yeah, that seems to be such like it's such a common problem, just having like the mental health side of things and like trying to find some normalcy in such a new world. But yeah, everybody getting out of the military is so focused on like career.
Yeah,
like, what am I going to do next? I got to get into something. And I get it. Like the pressure is on to get into something financially stable. 'Cause, a lot of people have families that they got to provide for and stuff, but the mental health, like that stuff will work itself out. It's the mental health stuff side that if you don't actually like take some time and commit to like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to continue working out. I'm going to make sure that I stay in connection with all my friends. I'm going to build good habits as I'm making this transition from a mental health side. Like that is like the true differentiator. And it just gets so often overlooked. So I talk about that all the time.
And I'm glad you guys do and have the platform to do so, because it surprised me. And like, it makes sense now when I look back at all of that, but it just surprised me how heavy it hit, how hard it hit, and in the ways that it did. Even when you were talking about, staying connected with your friends and your community and a network, but it's like you almost feel like the other person now, with like all the things you were bonding over was the struggle for me in the Navy, the struggle of the ship, or the struggle of the grind of this and the grind of that. But it's like now I'm different. I'm not in the thick of it with you all. So like, what is there now? And it can start to feel very isolated as you're getting out, because you're not fully out yet. Maybe you're not fully in the veteran community. It's like, so where do you fall when it comes to community? But like you said, it's so important to stay connected, to not allow yourself to be isolated. So you can just have the perspective of like, everything's okay. And like, it's going to work out. And the process is the process. But you can make it through. So yeah, I'm glad that you said that. It was important.
Yeah, having a time gap is really important. I tell anybody that's able to take some time off after. I know everyone is so focused on, have a smooth transition. So you want to have a job lined up, you want to know where you're living, you want to have all these things planned out, and people just go right into their next job. I'm going to say job because we're usually not even a career. What is 80% of veterans leave their first job within a year? So more than likely, that thing that you're super excited about and you're like, this is gonna be my next career, I'm gonna be making X amount of dollars and I can see my career going forward, you have an 80% chance that that's not going to be the case. So I'm like, anybody that can take a month off, just sit down, think, have some time to relax, because the military invariably tries to get their pound of flesh out of you up until the very last day.
Always.
If you let them, they will have you doing TPS reports until the very last day that you get your DD 214. And you need to create that separation from your job, start training your replacement, start handing stuff off, take some time for yourself, make sure that you're equipped, because the Navy will do everything they can to to keep working you, because that's just what it's there for. It's not designed to ease people out.
Yeah.
And so anytime you can, take a vacation, spend some time with family, just go have conversations without the stress of, I need to have this thing lined up,
Hmm.
and realize that there's a lot of options out there for people when they leave the military. You don't need to have everything figured out on day one of your veteran life.
Yeah, you don't. And that's because we're trained to just have the next steps always in the pipeline. Like that's the job. That's the mindset. And
Contingencies
so
1, 2, and 3.
yeah, and it's hard to like mentally and emotionally decompress from what you've been doing your whole career. But life is different on the other side, and it takes a different mindset. It takes a different approach. Um, and it's just hard to come down from that after so long, to decompress in that. But like you said, taking time and really just sitting in your feelings, sitting in just sometimes not having a whole lot to do, like that can provide clarity on what it is you might want to do and what you can sustain over your lifetime, like what you enjoy doing type of conversation with yourself.
And you brought up an interesting point earlier. You said,
Mm.
you're not in the service anymore. You're not a veteran yet. It's
Mm.
true that when you leave the military, you don't feel like a veteran. It's not like day one, I'm a
Yeah,
veteran. You're
no.
going to put on your VFW
Yeah.
hat with your pins. It usually takes some time. A lot of people that I talk to, they're
Yeah.
like, I want nothing to do with the military. I want nothing to do with the veteran stuff. I don't want to go work for some government contract defense industry thing. I don't want to work with anything military. I just want to go do my own thing. And then
Yeah.
invariably they come back a little. Like I was the exact same way. I wanted nothing to do
Mhm.
with any of those types of jobs. I started working in life science in the tech space, doing
Mm.
recruiting, and it wasn't until 2 or 3 years later that I started coming back this way, and wanting to talk with other veterans about entrepreneurship and my experiences. So it's interesting to see how long it takes people to
Yeah.
almost identify as a veteran after they leave the military.
Yeah, it's like the just the decompression, I think that's a part of it too. For me, even in the process, I just had this phrase in my mind as I was deciding what I wanted to do or what I wanted to get into next. It was, I don't want to be in the Navy 2.0. Like I just knew I didn't want to be in another high octane environment of this and that, and just literally surrounded by people who were just in the military in that sense of like, a corporate job or this, that, and XYZ. And so yeah, I think we all just have our different levels of the experiences that we had while we're in the military, how it felt at the time, and then how you reflect on it and how you perceived how your service and your time went. And it's a really great opportunity as a really good touch point to decide how you want to go into the future. Like it doesn't need to be Navy 2.0. I think that can feel very safe and secure, financially, like we discussed in other ways. But there's also an opportunity to step off the beaten path and to get a little risky and, really step into like, what are my passions? Like, how do I want to feel? That's not questions we ask ourselves in the Navy. Like, who cares about how you feel? Like, get it done. But we can ask ourselves that now. Like, how do I want to feel in my life? How do I want to live my life? And yeah, for me, it was just like, I can't do Navy 2.0. Whatever it is, I'll figure it out. But it's not going to be Navy 2.0 for sure. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think
the
it's
military
just
transition is it's such a good time to like just adventure out and like and literally and like what you're saying, find what you're passionate about and
yeah.
figure out like you don't have to go work at Lockheed or any of these other
Mhm.
companies, Raytheon. It's a time to do a little bit of self-discovery, and
Mhm.
if you need to take go back to school to do something that you're like computer science or whatever's like tickling your
Yeah.
fancy that day, or that try something new for the first time. It's not a linear career progression. Like you can bounce around. Now you're a free agent,
Yeah.
and that's the way you need to kind of treat it.
I
Absolutely.
think that's a great use of the GI Bill. Is The education's good unless you're getting into some super technical field like being a lawyer, doctor,
Mm.
even computer stuff nowadays. Most of that stuff's available on the internet. You don't have to go to school for it. It's academic level of application, but there are certain things, yes, you need to go to school for. Engineering, anything, you need a license. But if you're a veteran, you don't know what you want to do,
Mm.
it's a great time to have some income coming
Yes.
in, and figure out what it is you want to do next, dabble around a little bit. I know I talked to a lot of guys that they go back to get their MBA,
Hmm.
and they're like, yeah, the MBA was fine. A lot of the information, it's pretty common knowledge, or after you read it, you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
It's nothing profound. But what it gave them the opportunity to do was interact with other people, especially in the MBA space where you have other professionals that are going back to school, so you can talk with them about their jobs, see what they're
Yeah.
doing. And it just gives you that space, it gives you that year or two of some money coming in, so you're not
Hmm.
scrounging, to think about what's actually important for you next after you leave the military. And I know you said you're going back to school,
Yeah.
and you're not using the GI Bill right now. You're actually using VR&E.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about that process. I put an application for it a
Hmm.
little while back, but it's just in that holding pattern because I know they're super backlogged. But what's your experience been with it so far, and how has it been working?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to talk about that and share that resource. It was actually Mike Stedman who shared that with me initially when I was in my medical retirement process. I had no idea. I didn't know what it was. Um, and he's like, you really should check this out. I was able to get some of my schooling paid for. And I was like, oh, I thought just the GI Bill did that. And he's like, no, check this out. So I added it to a part of my plan as far as like exactly what you were saying, to be able to create financial space for myself. To go to school and things I'm interested in, but also to create that financial space to have a moment and have thoughts and have feelings and just figure out what the path and way ahead was. And so vocational rehab is, they do say, and we talked about this before, it's not an educational program like the GI Bill. It is for job placement. So helping veterans as they get out, usually 10 to 20%. You need to be more than 10 and 20% VA disability to be accepted to the program. And what they really focus on is if you're wanting to get into a new field that you're not already qualified for, or if you need a extra level of education in order to qualify for the field that you're trying to get into. So say you have a background in, I don't know, so I'll use me, a background in English, but now I want to get into holistic health. Well, I don't have the schooling or the qualifications to get in the job that I'm interested in wanting to do after I get out. And so that's when they come and they say, hey, for you to ultimately get the job you want, you need this new different level of education, different field of education, and we're going to support you in that so you can ultimately get this job. And they will pay up to 4 years of schooling. They'll pay for a bachelor's degree. You'll be able to get a master's degree. Like, they cover all the costs and whatever services they need to give you for you to ultimately get that job. And so that's the crux of what vocational rehab is. And it's an absolutely amazing resource. It's just important to know the way you approach the GI Bill is not the way you can approach VR&E. It has to be an ultimate job goal that you are not currently qualified to apply to because of any gaps in education. And then they'll fill those gaps for you.
Yeah, I think it's like chapter 31. I always forget, get them mixed up with those. One of
Yeah.
them's 31, the other's
And one's
33, I
33.
think, like
Yeah.
that. But it's Veterans Readiness and Employment, I think is what VRE stands for
Yeah.
now. Yeah, as you mentioned, it used to be Voc Rehab,
Hmm.
Vocational Rehabilitation, and they've revamped it. And that's been the trend
Yeah.
that I've heard with people is it is not an educational platform. It is a employment
Hmm.
thing. And so if they see you as having a means to get employed, I've heard a lot of people getting denied on the Voc or the VRE
Yeah.
process because it doesn't align with what they're trying to do. There's like, use your GI
Exactly.
Bill. You already have training, you're already employed or whatever it is. So it is nuanced, but it's just another level of benefits
Hmm.
veterans can use, especially for people like us that are trying to be entrepreneurs. And I think that actually is a entrepreneurship track for them to help you. They'll help you build
Yeah.
a business plan, go over a lot of other aspects. They'll give you training in different areas. And I think, if I remember correctly, you can even get some money
Yeah.
for purchasing equipment. If you want to be a photographer,
Hmm.
buying cameras and lights and other stuff like that. So it is a pretty extensive and broad program for people to use it as an option to get started. I know I'm using either the GI Bill or
Hmm.
Voc Rehab to help build this business out. We have so many different aspects to it. We have our entrepreneurship community. We have our newsletter. We have this
Yeah.
podcast. We just started the marketing and branding company. There's a whole bunch
Mm.
of different aspects. that the more education and training I can get on the marketing side, I think it'll make us that much more effective down the road.
Absolutely. One thing I do, a couple things I would want to say about VR&E, the self-employment track. What I didn't get, because it's one of those programs, like the VA, I feel like has these like quietly gate kept, but not really programs that nobody knows the ins and outs of until you go through it type of thing, no matter how much you read up on it. So if you're interested in the self-employment track, it's something to go into your consultation with your counselor talking about. So I didn't understand that. I went in with the schooling, the education, the job side, and then later down the line, I tried to have the conversation about the self-employment track, and they're like, "Well, you've already been approved for this side of the track, education to employment." And I was like, "Oh, like I didn't even know that." So, it's pretty hard. I've looked up some message boards. It's pretty hard to get approved for the self-employment track, but I wouldn't obviously use that as discouragement. I would still try, but you got to go with a plan, like you're at least some things put together, ready to present, ready to tell them what you need to be able to achieve this, like all the data, all the normal stuff you would need and use to launch a business, have that ready for them, at least so they have something to work off. They know you're serious and they're more likely to probably approve you for it. But go in talking about that, because that's where the track diverges from there, when you initially start having your conversations with your counselor.
So do you think that you could have gotten the education piece plus like this other track if you would have gone in talking about it? And would you prefer to do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I did think about that. I was like, from what I've read, because I was digging into some instructions and even their like internal instructions I got my hands on and like was looking at that stuff. I don't know. I don't know if they'll provide you. They may provide alignment with like an entrepreneurial certificate or program as far as schooling. But specifically in your industry, I don't know. But it's a question I could ask my counselor because I still have them, and I could definitely swing back and give you all that information. I am good with what ultimately I'm doing now because everything's worked out and it's smooth. And for me, I feel like business, I can get all the nuggets and piece all the stuff together. But for specific things like holistic care, like that, I have to go to school for that type of thing. So yeah, I'm fine with the way the track went. But if someone's really set on that, wanting to do that, go in with that conversation with them. Yeah, absolutely.
And how did you get into the entrepreneurship side? Like you went to the Naval Academy, you joined the military. It's like the
Yeah.
antithesis of all things entrepreneurship
Isn't
and
it?
running a business. At what point were you recognizing the value of being a business owner and then pursuing that? Because I mean, you literally wrote a book on it, being a veteran and an entrepreneur, and then you've started a couple businesses and have been supporting other people in their endeavors.
So it just honestly, at first, it came out of I wanted to publish my poetry books. So I've written poetry since I was like 11, and I've always been nervous to share them because like what it reveals about me to the world, yada yada, all that. And then it was actually 2020 during my second department head tour. We were out on deployment. I don't know why I set up to publish my book during that time. We were in Japan, and I'm like uploading stuff to Amazon and trying to set like the publishing date and all this stuff. It was quite a journey, but I'm grateful for it now because that just led me to, it literally set me up for what I was going to want to do, plan to do, and already have in place with a surprise medical retirement. That same time we were in Japan, the next port visit I had to be sent back. I went to the emergency room. They're telling me I need surgery. I was really sick, and I had to go back home after that. So it literally organically just naturally happened. And then as I had to go home and it was the pandemic and I'm in LIMDU and going through a med board, it just became my lifeline to having something to do after coming off being the combat systems officer on a 7th Fleet deployment to sitting at home and being sick. Like that's hard transition. And so it became my lifeline of having something to do and having purpose. And it built from there. And then as the writing was on the wall of I am going to be medically retired, I said, hey, I could turn this into something. Like I've already been doing this. Like it already comes natural to me. I enjoy it. And I'm going to continue to lean into writing and publishing. And that's exactly what I did.
And that's when you started Evergreen Media?
Yeah. It was actually, again, community connection. We're so important to each other just in the opportunities we can give each other, but supporting each other too. Like Mike reached out to me and I remember I was so depressed. I was not in a good space. I like didn't really want or need to be probably taking on any projects or anything. But Mike reached out and he was like, "Hey, I got a newsletter. I want to start this. I want to start, like, you're a writer. Like, I need your help." Like, pretty literally was like, "I just need your help." I was talking to Natalie. She was like, "Alana would be perfect for that." And he reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, like, let's do this." And something in me just said, I need to say yes. And I did. I said, "You know what, Mike? I got you. Let's do it." And I just pushed past whatever I was feeling and what I was going through. And it turned into this path of turning into Evergreen, writing Black Veteran Entrepreneur. It was supposed to be a newsletter, then it turned into a book. And it's just like, I said yes to him, but I said yes to myself. And it literally organically and naturally led to just where I am now and amazing things.
So
Do
you
you see
figured
that
out,
being like your future, just staying in entrepreneurship, like when you're using this
Oh.
education in holistic health and staying? Yeah.
One of my other mental things I said to myself when I was leaving, it's a grand statement whenever you say, "I'll never do something." But it's like, I was like, "I'll never work for somebody else ever again." Or whatever I have to do, um, financially, whatever, I'm willing to sacrifice and do it to have that freedom is so worth it to me. Like, that is success to me. The flexibility, the freedom to just live life the way I want to live, whatever I have to do, that's success to me.
Talking my kind of language. And Kevin's too.
after I started the recruiting business, I was like, I don't understand how people go back to an office
Mm,
and just grinding away, having to be certain places, having to ask for permission to go on vacation, having to ask permission
yes.
to leave work early to, I don't know, go to the doctors, take your kids someplace, pick your kids up from school, whatever it might be. It just
Yeah.
seems, I mean, the military makes sense. You have to do it because you need to be
Yeah.
there as accountability. But outside of that, I feel like so many businesses have tried to adopt that mindset of we have complete because we give you money, we
Mhm.
have control over your life, and you need to do what we say.
Yeah, no.
And there needs to be some level of accountability in business, but I feel like it's just gone too far, and people assign over so much of their freedom and their
Mhm.
control to a business simply because they get a paycheck. I could never go back at this point.
Yeah.
For anybody listening, Kevin makes me submit my leave statements and a map
Mhm.
to wherever I'm going. And I also have to do a vehicle inspection to make sure that my vehicle is up to date. It's
Everything needs to be in duplicate and hard copies only. We don't use the internet, so
yeah,
he has to
I
mail
have
it
to I
request
have to
from the
actually fax
Netherlands.
them. Yeah,
That
I have to
does sound
fax
like
them over.
the Navy and the military right there. Just gonna use hard copies of everything. What?
Yeah, and I frequently lose stuff in the mail, so he has to send it again.
I haven't gone on leave in a really long time.
It's good to keep your employees under the thumb. It builds character and loyalty.
But yeah, like it's in, and I want to like just provide the balance of, I know that, you know, sometimes that's just the option people have to make for themselves. So it's not a judgment of anybody who doesn't have the opportunity, the resources, or just the time and space to make the decision of entrepreneurship. You know, because all of our lives are different. So I do understand and appreciate, and I could have made a different decision. I really feel like if I wouldn't have had the lead time of LIMDU or the medical board, I might have made just the safe, secure decision. Just feeling the rush and the pressure of just all of that. Like, how is that going to work? Like, I had time to plan and replan, and I can't tell you how many times in my notebook I wrote out my like plan of how I'm going to transition, how financially it's going to work, and I was breaking it down and doing all of that. Um, so yeah, I would understand that if people just feel the pressure to make different choices, but I do hope at some time, like, they do have like the space to, maybe even this conversation that we're having maybe might spark someone to just sit and maybe think about it while they're doing something else, be in the background playing in their mind that, hey, I could maybe make a different choice and this is how I could possibly do it.
How close was your transition out
Mm.
aligned with what was in your notebook?
Oh, it was pretty spot on. It
Nice.
was pretty spot on. Any process in the Navy or the military, like it'll take 2 years, and then next thing you know, it takes 2 weeks, and it's like they're like, "Oh, you're done." And so I was waiting for a long time to hear about my just my status, when my processing date was going to be, and all of that. And it came unexpectedly quicker than they had given me a timeline. And so I, for a second, when they're like, "Okay, yeah, you have 60 days and you're out," and I was like, "Oh, like
Oh
I've been
shit.
planning for this."
There's an
But
actual number now.
yeah, I did that wasn't the timeline. But what was cool, I remember I was with my friend Glenn and his wife Ashley. We went to naps together, the academy together and everything. And we were over their house like doing a barbecue, and it hit me. I got the email. I was like, "Ugh." But literally within 5 minutes, I was like, "I have a plan for this." Like, I'm just gonna bring the plan forward, and I already have the plan for this. And I was able to just sit in the certainty of that. Like, I've made these choices. I have a plan. You don't need to be scared, Alana. Like, you've got it. It's already done. And so I just pulled everything forward and executed my plan, and it all worked out, and it worked perfectly.
And I know there's been a couple pivots. We've had a lot of pivots, just Greg and I.
I love a
And then
pivot.
maybe before that,
Oh yeah.
how did you go from, publishing and writing
Mm,
newsletters and creating email courses to now what you're doing with the holistic health? At what point were you saying the content creation, I
mm.
enjoy it, but it's not where I want to continue forward anymore. I want to shift over to this area.
So ultimately, my plan coming out it was going to be more heavy on the side of the media side, but I always wanted to go to a holistic health course. But my goal was and I planned to practice in person and do that, but that wasn't the initial. It was going to be holistic health and go to Columbia, get my journalism degree, and then become a holistic health, like, investigative journalist, to be able to dig into women's health and the gaps in it within health, and then provide women with just holistic tools in order to take care of themselves, their bodies, to learn more about their bodies, and have it be a very media forward, just accessible, holistic healthcare to everybody through media. Um, and then I finished my program. I didn't end up going to Columbia. I got accepted, but I was so tired after my transition out. I didn't want to move again from California to New York. It was like, New York's great, but man, Cali's just different. And so I let them know I wasn't coming. I finished my holistic health course, and it just really aligns with me. Um, it's how I want to feel when I'm doing what I'm doing, for not even just livelihood, but just my purpose in life. I love to care for people, help people, literally help people relax, like all of the nurturing stuff that's in holistic care. And when I finished school, I said, yeah, this just resonates with me, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to open my practice. I didn't expect to do this right now. I expected to be writing, but this just flows. This is more natural to what I want to be doing right now, what I want to be feeling, and how I want to be helping people. And so I did it.
And what does that look like?
So I have a practice now in one location in PB, one location in Mission Valley, and I concentrate and focus on body work. I'm also completing some courses in gut health and hormonal health. And it's very much just creating a space for women to feel safe in their bodies, to either reestablish or establish the connection, that mind body connection within their bodies. And there's like the orthopedic and very like actually helping you where you're tight and stuff like that, and relieving and releasing. But also just, yeah, a lot of people don't feel safe in their bodies. And I noticed a lot of women don't. And so helping them with that, their gynecological health as well, and literally just understanding how your body works so you can take care of yourself, so you can nurture yourself, and so you can heal yourself if you have things that are challenging you.
It's pretty
So is that
remarkable
like a
how
one-on-one coaching type of, or is it like do you call them patients? How do you
Mm.
refer to? Yeah,
So I call them clients.
that's
Um,
okay.
only reason why I stay away from coaching is because that's just like the trendy thing now,
Yeah,
is Instagram thing and information, and I'm a coach. And not that I'm knocking anybody who's out there coaching, that's not what I'm saying. But yeah, it's a one-on-one session. It begins with body work. a lot of, if you have health challenges, I believe, in my own experience with being diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, is if you're healing the body, you also have to address the mind. And if you're addressing the mind, you also have to take care of the body. Like, it's one and the same as far as a healthcare approach. And so that's where we begin. We do body work, and then it's just over time the conversations of what's going on, where are your challenges, and we address that in a holistic field, personalized to the person. And so it could be nervous system activation. It could be stress. Obviously, we carry that really heavily in our bodies, tight muscles, pain, all of that. And it's just addressing those, calming those, and creating space for just wellness.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable how out of touch a lot of people are with their bodies. My wife provides a lot of nutritional support to people. She was
Yeah.
running a women's health and nutrition
Mhm.
coaching company for a little
Sorry, I
while.
didn't know.
No, everything comes through waves. As something picks
Yeah.
up, everyone starts using it more and more. There was consulting, now there's coaching,
Yeah.
mentoring. It's all just different phrases for the same thing.
Yes. Yes.
But I mean, words have meaning, so it does play into it now.
Mhm.
But yeah, she would work with women who had just been eating unhealthily for so long.
Mm.
They're living in places in the Midwest where the closest grocery store was a Walmart, and that was 45 minutes
Yeah.
away. And so
Wow. Yeah.
their idea of fresh vegetables was whatever Walmart had.
Mhm.
And she would start having them learn how to read the nutrition facts and build out your macros and actually
Yeah.
eat in a healthy and smart way. And within just a week or two, these people are like, "Oh my God, I have so much energy. I feel so much lighter. I can move around. My gut isn't always
Mhm.
constantly giving me trouble." But people are just so used to feeling miserable or feeling drained that they just think that's normal, and until they actually get exposed to what a healthy, efficient body can be. I'm sure a lot of your clients are going to be the same thing, where they're so used to feeling
Mhm.
pain or inefficiency or lethargic that when you're able to start working through these things or put a name on what's causing, like if it's a hormonal thing or if it's a
Mhm.
diet thing or if it's a orthopedic thing, to where they now know where they can focus their effort. It changes the mindset completely, and now they can actually start working through a lot of these problems.
Absolutely. Like, it's and I love that your wife does that, and that's a beautiful, it's just a beautiful service to be able to introduce people into a different way of living. And a lot of things can come from a lot of our wellness. It's just about, it's literally taking it back to the basics. It's
Hmm.
not, we have a lot of, people telling you to drink your ginger lemon water, which I do because it's good and I know why it's good. It's not just because it's trending. Like, there's benefits to it. But if you're doing things like that, which are helpful, but you're not getting good sleep, or you're not eating just nutritious food, or you're not managing your stress levels and finding ways to cope with just life, then all those things are just, it's supplementing off of nothing. And so it's just kind of, you're not getting back to the roots and the foundations of what health are. And it comes to the thing we sacrifice usually the most, is which is sleep, and food, and just in the quick society we live in, sometimes we're just not taking moments to just care for ourselves in the basic ways, which I think are really, really important and just overlooked. But like, bringing people back to the why of things, I've seen, and has helped me to understand then why I really want to commit to doing this, because I know why it's important to me and I know why I need this. So I'm more likely to be consistent and stick to it because I understand it.
And
There's
do you
also so
have?
much information out there too. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, it's overwhelming the amount
Yeah.
of information, and it's like, and it changes from like, there's a Huberman. I mean, Huberman's getting called out all the time. I feel
Mm.
like, for a lot of his studies and stuff, like the whole like, don't drink coffee until you've like for like 90 minutes or something like that,
Yeah.
until like after you've woken up. Like, that's been debunked, I believe. But yeah, there's just an overwhelming amount of
Mhm.
information. So it's like, it's so nice to have people like yourself where you can just like go to someone like you
Mhm.
and be able to like distill down, like, okay, like I'm reading information off the internet, which is like for everyone, but like,
Yeah.
what about for me? I need to
Yeah.
like, I need
Yeah.
this to be individualized to me. So kudos to you. It's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's exactly what I'm trying to provide, is personalized care.
Well, I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it needs to be super personalized too.
Yeah.
Just between men and women, my wife was giving me shit because I was doing a jujitsu tournament and I had to cut weight for it.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Do you have a long plan?" Because for her, cutting, I think I had to lose 7 or 8 pounds to make weight. And for her, that would be a long, drawn out
A
process over
journey.
several
Yeah.
weeks. I was like, the Sunday before, starting to cut weight. Overnight, I would lose 4 or 5 pounds. She's like, I fucking hate guys. And this is why girls need to have separate girls should
Yes.
not be following male
No.
diet plans
No.
because guys will swing up and down. I mean,
Mhm.
just look at Christian Bale. I mean, what do you have,
Oh
like a
yeah.
150-pound swing between the machinist and Black Knight? Went
What
from
he does for his roles, wow.
yeah. I mean,
What?
try doing something like that with the female body. It's just your
No.
guys'
Not the
bodies
same.
don't respond the same way. And so yeah, I was able to drop 8 pounds over the span of a week. I just eat a little bit less. I work out a little more, and then I hit the weight, and then
Yeah.
I bounce right back within a few hours. And it's having a body awareness and someone that
Mhm.
is familiar with different sexes and how they work, and then also
Yeah.
people with hormonal issues
Mhm.
or genetic predisposition to certain things. Not every male can drop weight that quickly, and some can drop 15 pounds, just they have more body mass, whatever it is. So
Mhm.
having someone that truly understands where people are coming from and empathizing with them, and working a very tailored regimen to get them healthy is extremely important.
Yeah.
Health, nutrition, fitness is one of the things. It's like cheaping out on tires and brakes.
Yeah. It's
If
like
you're
not
not
the thing
spending the
you want
money
to
on
do.
food, you're not going to see the gains you want or the changes you want.
Yeah, and it's like, people always say health is wealth, and we have all the sayings, and like, but it really is, like, for me, it wasn't until I lost it that I gained this appreciation. So my journey to holistic health came from my own health challenges, and I was really down and out. Like, during that time, there was times I couldn't walk. There was times that I, like, it sounds, unless you obviously experience it, but I don't know who else has experienced it, but, like, I couldn't breathe properly. Like, the pain in my body was just so limiting. Like, my diaphragm, I couldn't even, like, take, like, full breaths. I was in so much pain. And so it's like experiencing something like that, especially at a young age. It's kind of when you get older, you expect certain things and you're a little bit more accepting of maybe health challenges. But being so young and being in that position, I just, it gave me, like, literally a different appreciation for how, if you don't have your health, you literally can't have anything else. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it strips everything from you. If you can't just be, if your body's just not working properly, even just sitting. I'm not talking about running 13 miles or 20 miles or anything, but you just cannot sit on the couch and be okay. Like, that strips you to a different level of just yourself. And it's just a place I don't want anybody to have to be. Like, we can do things and take care of ourselves well before that, so that that doesn't happen to people. It doesn't happen to us. So literally, health is everything. Hopefully me sharing that says it. I don't want anybody to have to experience that directly, but it really is everything. And we can't say that enough and impress that enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's huge opportunity costs that I think people are just unaware of.
Mm-hmm.
The people are working 50, 60, 80 hours a
Yeah.
week. They're sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night. Like, oh no, but I'm making money. I'm
Body.
moving up
Yeah.
the corporate ladder. I'm going to make VP this year. I'm going to make partner, and I'm
Yeah.
making 400K. It's like, yeah, you're making 400K now, but how much time do you actually have to spend with your family? How much time do you actually have to enjoy it? What are you doing to your health when,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe you retire at 55, but are you able to do anything at
Mm-hmm.
55? Is your body just so broken down? Your hormones so out of whack? Your fitness is completely demolished. Is that money really worth it? And as a
Mm-hmm.
society, we've overvalued the paycheck and the title, and not the freedom and the health that is necessary to actually enjoy this stuff.
Absolutely. And the balance of that. And I just hope, it seems like a shift is happening. The pandemic seemed to have taught people a lot about that in general. But it's hard. Old habits die hard. We are a capitalistic society, and that just doesn't fall out on the wayside because of a pandemic even. So it's like, oh wow. But like the pendulum swung for a while, and that was good to see people were focused on that. It does seem there are lasting changes that have obviously happened, but it seems like it's swinging back a little bit more. But yeah, I just hope that conversations like this continue to happen. People continue to seek that freedom for themselves, and however that looks like for them, and what success really means for them in life. Yeah, that's important.
And with starting this new practice, do you have mentors you got or coaches you got from the holistic classes you were taking? Did you seek people out? Because going from creating newsletters and writing books, it's a very different thing than now dealing with essentially patients. You know, there's going to be HIPAA stuff. There's personal information. So how have you been learning how to structure this stuff? And obviously, you're very capable. You're a lifelong learner. You've been teaching yourself entrepreneurship. But where are you getting the skills necessary to make sure this practice is set up properly, that you're not exposing anybody or yourself to any liability?
Absolutely that.
And that also, you know, it's going to be an effective model. You know, you're not overextending yourself.
So it's been a combination of school was really great on the holistic side as far as the business side. It gave good practice, and like I definitely picked the brains of my instructors, and did my own research. I'm big on that. I just love to read different things, get all the different inputs, and then come together with what aligns with me. I've been blessed that it was the inspiration for holistic care was my own journey, but the women who helped me specifically through my holistic health journey and guided me and helped me heal my body through nutrition, through stress management, and all of that. And so I've just been exposed to them in the community with them throughout the years of my own care. And then now they have become colleagues, and it's just such a beautiful community of whatever I need, they're open doors for me to ask about business, for me to ask about continued resources to learn and all of that. And then I have friends who are in the holistic healthcare community. They tied me into the spaces that I'm in, and to be able to get referrals and just to know the software to use. And it's just everything. To me, it's like, you know, I say I'm in holistic care and then people be like, oh, the woo-woo stuff. But like, truly, like from my experience in life, when you're aligned with really what it is that you want to do or what aligns with you, what feels good to you in service of others, the blessings just roll in. Like, it's not that it's not work, but things are literally just lined up to support you in that journey. And that's really what it's been. Even just yesterday, one of my friends reached out, and she's coming in for her service today. And she's also then advertising the business to her sorority on Saturday in front of 200 women in California. I'm in San Diego area to come get a service. And so it's like the community I already built in the Navy and the way people know me and the community I built in the media realm, it still translates in a way exactly to holistic care and what I'm doing, because I realize the continuity is me. And just the seeds I've sown over the years, and me accepting and appreciating and understanding that. It's like, oh, people already want to support me. And they do. And it's like, it's been pretty fluid in that respect. And I'm grateful for it.
And is it a team of one, just you right now?
Yeah. So me right now, I have an executive, I'm pulling my executive assistant from Evergreen over to help with some things as well. But right now it's just me. I want an organic practice. I understand the importance of marketing and reaching out, but I also don't want just anybody to be able to walk off the street and be like, I want a massage. Like, that's not the practice, right? So, I'm okay with a small business model, organic growth, grow as I need to, and be able to really just not overextend myself, provide really good, energetic, full care to somebody. I don't want to be oversaturated. I've already set a limit of how much I will practice at any one point, because the quality is really important to me. I do plan at some point, as appropriate, to hire other holistic health practitioners, only who absolutely align with Evergreen values and all of that. But yeah, it's just I'm glad to be able to have the freedom to take it slow and take it organic, and that's very important to me.
Yeah, back to your point about like things just flowing to you. I
Mm.
feel like people just know. People know when you're like just in your wheelhouse and like in your
Yeah.
realm, and it's contagious. So people gravitate to it. So I think that this is a perfect instance of that. That's what's going on.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the same, like it's the glow. People are like, oh my God, you're glowing. It's like, well, because I'm like caring for myself and doing what I like to do. And like you're feeding yourself in what you're doing. It fills your cup. And that's just, and it's like what you were talking about, Kevin, earlier. It's like you guys are in the groove. Like this is just it. It feels good. You're having fun. Like that's what it can be for us. That's not what it's represented or how the world tells us our careers can be, but they can. It takes a little bit of a different navigation because we're not really wired that way to think that way.
Yeah, having all these creative outlets has been so invigorating since leaving the military. You know, when I was in the SEAL teams, I was so focused on being good at that job, and we were constantly engaged in doing that. We were training trips probably 300 days a year,
Yeah. Wow.
or we were deploying. So we are just gone and completely immersed in our craft. And then I got out and I tried doing that with a job, but it wasn't the same because it was very transactional. But then once I started building my own business, that side came out again because now I had all these different areas where I can be more creative and problem solve and develop plans and vision for the future. And then once I shifted my focus again from recruiting to the entrepreneurship coaching and the community building, and now the marketing agency we just opened up. Now it's like, oh, this is so much fun. Like all the things that I enjoy doing, I'm now just piling into one business with people I love working with. Like Greg and Christy are so much fun. Our Monday morning group syncs, I guess you can call them.
Yeah.
I feel like half the time
always a riot.
We're just shooting the shit with each other. You know, you see some of those Zoom meetings with businesses, and everyone's very professional and sit there talking about whatever reports or quarterly earnings, and we're literally just making fun of each other and sending memes
and coming up with ideas like propaganda swag.
Yeah, we're creating our merchandise arm is going to be propaganda swag because we have all this. We found these old Vietnam era banners from the Vietnamese side. And we just really like that retro design.
I love a throwback.
And that's part of the reason why we designed the Harder Not Smarter logo the way it was. It was, that retro design, fun colors, interesting layout. And that's all the stuff that we're doing as a team. Chrissy has a very creative eye on the artistic side and a lot of the editing. Greg has brilliant ideas and has a very different mindset from what I'm bringing in. He went to the Army. Obviously, there's something a little bit off with him. But
I don't eat crayons like Kevin.
True. And then, Christy's also Australian, which a lot of people don't know because she doesn't have an accent.
God, she's got the craziest story.
She
we talk shit about Christy on our podcast. Is that fair?
Oh, 100%. She'll go through and edit it and be like, "What the fuck you guys were talking about?"
I'm gonna mark this right now so that she goes back to it and listens to this.
But she had the weirdest career. She was an officer. She was a captain in the Australian Army and was planning to be a helicopter pilot and left and became an E3 in the U.S. Navy. Like, just doing everything ass backwards. But we just have a fun group, and so when you're able to surround yourself with people that give you energy, that have that fun nature, and you can have open and honest conversations. Every one of us feels empowered to. I'm assuming, Greg, you can tell me if my thumb is too much over you, but we all feel empowered to give input and make suggestions and come up with ideas of how we can move forward, and then it just becomes something fun to do. It's no longer a job. We're just seeing how we can teach important stuff, entrepreneurship, to as many people as possible and help them grow their businesses. And we're just like, this just feels like a nice groove that there's a lot of longevity in.
Absolutely. And it's like it's just the organic, doing something organically and authentically. It just feels different. And like you were saying, Greg, it just speaks differently to other people too. It's like people can really sense that when, like you said, when you're in your group, but also when you're open just authentically to enjoying what you're doing and providing them an authentic service. It's like, hey, I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm really actually trying to help you and serve you. And that just speaks to, like we were talking about, it was like over a year ago that we first connected, Kevin, and just to see where you've come in that time and like the consistency and the enjoyment that you've had in doing this and just how it's grown. Like it really, like I will check in on it on LinkedIn and just be like, wow, like you've grown so much. Like I was off LinkedIn for a little bit. I came back and I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. So it's really cool to see what you guys have just grown and done and the community that you built helping veterans in this arena. It's really
Thank
important
you.
and it's really powerful.
Well, let's help give you a little bump with your new business. What is your ideal customer looking like? What are these women coming in? What issues do you want to service? Do you do everything in person? Do you do remote stuff? What type of person do you want to see coming into you?
So right now, in person, I'll look to maybe do remote things later, but I really want to, I think in-person energy is very important when it comes to the healing process. So that's what I'm looking for in my clientele right now. Women who want to, again, establish or reestablish like a safe place within their body. You know, we can just become very mentally disconnected from our bodies with everything we're thinking of doing and all of this. And you start to notice maybe you're always tired, or, you know, I have a lot of stress in my hips, they're so tight, or I have a lot of lower back pain, or I just feel off. Like there's the feeling of feeling off. I feel disconnected from myself. Those are the women I want to serve, to just help them reestablish like the presence within their body. And then the healthy feeling of the things like we discussed, talking about nutrition, talking about the basics, to just help them with that and help them get back to normalcy in the sense of feeling good, and maybe something they've never felt before. But those are the women that I would love to serve.
And is this going to be an ongoing thing, or do you have typically, you know, it takes 3 months to get to work them through your plan, and then they've been educated and trained enough that they can do this on their own?
So body work specifically it's consistent care. You can get to a point where you feel good again, but our habits are hard to break. They'll happen again. So you'll start to experience in your body what you're feeling. So body work just would be consistent with what's financially accessible to the person. As far as holistic health consultation, that depends on someone's ailment. For someone who's mid-level, just not kind of feeling well, it takes like 3 months to see any sort of change really with your health, a lasting change. For someone who's in an acute situation, maybe a little long lasting, or maybe it's like a lifelong diagnosis, that would just be a different discussion of what their goals are. And then we set a timeline of care from there.
Awesome. And are you going to keep doing the writing and education through a newsletter to put information out there?
I absolutely am. So the newsletter was supposed to come first and then the practice, but the practice has kind of come first. So I'm going to get to that point and provide that service and that education just at large to any women who want to access it. But yeah, I'll be absolutely getting to that and providing that.
Awesome.
What's the name of it?
Is
it Evergreen? Did you change it over to Evergreen Health, or is it what's the name of your practice?
So it's Evergreen Holistic Care.
Nice. Okay. Cool.
And then I got the domain for Evergreen Women's Holistic Care. So
nice.
It's I took both.
Walk me through that. Yeah, walk me through that though. With getting this new business set up, getting I'm assuming LLC, any IP stuff, you know, trademarks, copyrights. Trying to think the other big ones. You already had one business set up. Are you transferring a lot of that stuff over, or are you just creating a completely new entity starting from scratch?
So what I wanted to do when I was going into business in general, I wanted to pick, and this is all, again, community, network, learning from others. Mike has Ironbound. And so I wanted something like that where I could have an overall umbrella of an organization, and then wherever my interests or desires take me, I can riff off that name. And so that's Evergreen. Evergreen as a whole is it's the name of the business, the LLC. And then there was Evergreen Media. And now I'm doing Evergreen Holistic Care and Women's Holistic Care. So I filed DBAs with California. And I'm just doing DBAs underneath the umbrella housing. So as things develop or as things grow over the years, I can just continue to file the DBAs under the one LLC. So I don't have to continue to reopen or start different ones. It keeps it financially straight. It keeps it super flexible. that I can, it's just easy as that. And like the same EIN and all of that stuff. So that was a really good nugget of business input going into what I was doing, to see how he had done that for Ironbound. It seems just more flexible and fluid, and I really like that.
Yeah, that's what Brent Douglas, our lawyer, told us to do. He did one of the webinar series that we do within the community, talking about corporate structuring.
Yeah.
And he said the same thing. Because we have the podcast, we have the newsletter, we have the coaching or the community, we have the marketing group.
Yeah.
Like, just put one LLC, pile it all underneath it. And if down the road, you're looking to sell the marketing agency, you can piecemeal that off into its own entity and sell that.
Ooh, that's nice.
But you don't have to do that right now. You can be flexible with it. So just keep everything as uncomplicated as possible while you're doing it. Otherwise, you're spending $800 a year for incorporating. You have all the different tax returns that you then have to do, which is going to be a couple $100, if not a couple $1,000, depending on what you're doing. Separate EINs, and it just becomes super convoluted. There's no reason to make it crazy if you don't have to.
Exactly. And so I'm glad I'm tracking legally as well from a legal representative. I'm on the right track.
You made the smart decision. I mean, we all follow Bronson, the guy that started Virgin, Richard Branson.
Yeah, Branson.
Something like that. That's what he did with Virgin. Everything's some version of Virgin.
Yeah.
Virgin.
Tongue
Virgin Air.
Yeah.
Virgin Mobile.
Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Air, Virgin Mobile, Virgin Records.
Yeah, it just works.
Isn't he in space now? Isn't he in space?
Is it Virgin Blue, or is that Amazon Blue? But yeah, Virgin did do the space thing.
Yeah, they're big in the space. People going up, and
they might have had a failed one.
Virgin Galactic.
There it is.
Space tourism company. Yeah.
I think that's the one that gets launched from the bottom of a 747. Like, they just drop it out and then it rockets up instead of going from the ground.
I think I've seen that too. Yeah.
Billionaires just too much time on their hands,
and a lot of money too.
Yeah,
a lot of money. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I love that confirmation of, hey, that's a good way to do it.
You're doing it right, at least for my limited one-of-one experience. But yeah, at least our lawyers said that's the best way to go about it for the time being. We're not trying to be a publicly traded company with stock options and raising capital. It's just the three of us building a business.
It's just beautiful. I love that.
Well, awesome, Alana. It's so good seeing you're doing well. And I remember met you dropped off for a little bit. You came back. I reached out asking if everything's good. You're like, yeah, just making moves, making things happen.
I appreciate that.
Staying busy. So excited to hear more about the new Evergreen offshoot, the medical practice, and seeing how that goes for you. Hopefully this is a good fit and you're able to continue thriving.
I appreciate that. It feels like the fit. It truly, truly does. And I'm really, really excited.
Awesome. We'll put the links and everything in the summary. So if people are interested, drop down to the summary. You can find out more about Evergreen Holistic Health. Yeah. If you're in you said PB, Pacific Beach. Mm-hmm. If you're in the PB area, check her out.
Come on over.
Some good health knowledge. Yes. And then also check her out on LinkedIn. She puts out a lot of good information. Her book, Black Veteran Entrepreneur, make sure it's in the right order, talks about all three of those experiences. I mean, you can even put in there female as well. There's the number of female entrepreneurs is pretty minimal. So congrats to you on going about this largely on your own. Obviously, you have mentors and support, but
support and
every
community,
one of these things has been you deciding you're gonna build it.
I appreciate that so much. That feels good because you can question yourself sometimes. So it's like, it does feel really good to hear that and see that and constantly just have perspective. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for everything you're doing for veterans.
You bet.